how about carbon capture? I think this is an interesting topic that you dove into a little bit recently. Yeah, what are your thoughts on, I don't know, the necessity of this, maybe, and then
Yeah.
also how different approach. So overall, this topic of carbon capture, anything that's that you've been diving into specifically recently?
Yeah, I would say that this was definitely one topic where I wanted to be, very thoughtful in the way that we approached it and covered it, and what we were sharing with our readers, because I think, there is an ongoing discussion even within, the climate tech industry about, again, like the role, how big of a role should this have, and how many of our resources should go toward, deploying it. And I think the first thing I dove into on this topic was just trying to understand the difference. And I wrote kind of an explainer piece about what carbon capture is in like CCUS, kind of point source capture at an industrial site or a power generation site, versus the carbon dioxide removal technologies that a lot of startups are working on, and are kind of in, emerging stages of deploying, with things like direct air capture, and nature-based, carbon removal solutions. So understanding that a lot of the criticism you might find online initially, if you start Googling around about carbon capture, is really focused more on, some of the shortcomings of point source capture,
Hmm.
and the way that that has been sort of fraught in the past, and understanding that that is, a tool that really should only be relied upon in super hard to decarbonize industries. That's really, I don't want to say last resort, but that, this is what we should be doing. If we absolutely can't stop emitting greenhouse gases, then we should try and capture as much of the carbon dioxide out of that and keep it from going into the atmosphere as we can. But I think the proposition from the CDR, the carbon dioxide removal technology, is really about trying to remove, kind of legacy emissions that are already out there in the atmosphere.
Hmm.
And so, it's been an interesting time to be covering it, because, you had the IPCC report earlier this year that really said explicitly for the first time that, you were as a piece of this larger pie of decarbonization. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting time. And the US is really putting a lot of resources behind it. I mean, the direct air capture piece of things, there's $3.5 billion in the infrastructure bill to create hubs for direct air capture. And I think that's been an interesting discussion around how to structure those, so that you can really include all the different companies that are innovating in the space and give a lot of different solutions an opportunity to prove that they can be helpful, I guess.
Hmm.
So that's, early stages. And then there are provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act as well that will help that industry. There's the 45Q tax credit, was increased for direct air capture, which will should help, that to be a more accessible financial support, and help that industry as they work on scaling and bringing the cost of carbon removal down. So it's also a lot of nuance. There's a lot of different approaches, and a lot of folks, coming at it from different angles. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been very interesting to dig into.